So I'm going to show you some like how I set up my document more or less and some things that are nice and helpful. So uh, first off, basically using a 1200 pixel grid, and it's a 12 column grid, so bootstrap and foundation are both that, so that makes it easy and a little easier to translate when going into prototyping. So that's how things are started off. But yeah, things that make life a whole lot easier, starting off would probably be symbols. So what symbols allow you to do is elements that would be repeated throughout the document. You can grab these guys and go into it and change one area. Let's say we want to make everything red, and you make those changes in one spot, and it's now basically changed throughout the rest of the document. So you want to get rid of the help me, just put help. Makes it a whole lot easier when you're just have to update it in one spot rather than, particularly if you have like 50 artboards and going between those, and then all of a sudden, oh crap, 50 artboards and you forgot one. So yeah, that's obnoxious. So symbols, great stuff. Uh, another great thing that Illustrator has is global colors. So I like to just name colors mainly based around like whatever the SAS file variables are going to be. So primary, secondary, tertiary, etc., etc. That way it'll translate nicely when going into, I guess, some light prototyping front-end stuff. So what makes this particularly nice is that you can go in at any point, and let's say I want to make these guys a little bit more blue, and desaturate that guy. And now, rather than selecting all those colors or selecting all those objects and trying to change all the colors, I can just do it in one spot, which is fantastic. So that's helpful. Other things that are nice, appearance panel. The appearance panel is terrific for a few reasons. So it allows you to add like functions to stuff. So let's say we have some text here and we want to make a button out of this. What we can do is go to the functions and convert shape to a rounded rectangle. And yeah, sure, we'll go with that. And you'll want to move the character above everything else. Then if you double click in it, you can change its fill and color to whatever you want. So now you have a button. And what's terrific about this is you can just type to your heart's content. And you can also center align the text, and that makes it nice for a few things. The downside of it is when you go to align objects, it doesn't align to where you offset it. It aligns to where the text is, so that can get obnoxious. But if you have like center align buttons or like a tag or something that looks like something like this guy, it would work just fine for. So yeah, appearance panel, you can apply different things that are helpful, like borders, and basically put two strokes on there or two fills and transform it, and at any point then go back and edit it and say, hey, I want it to be 2 pixels or whatever. Yeah, it also saves and makes the file a little bit smaller, so you can not worry about lag as much if you're working on a slower machine. But yeah, generally, whenever I start a document, so I'll use artboards, and artboards, you select one and you want to do a variation, you can just hold Alt and drag it out, and now you have a duplicate of everything that you have there. And Command 2, I use locks the object, so this guy has a, oh, like a 10% gray instead of an actual white background. So locking that guy, you can delete it and then grab stuff from other document or other artboards and copy that guy. Let's say we'll paste that guy in place. And hey, now you have two variations that you can compare and do some quick iterations and get some ideas out there, see how it looks. Let's see, linked images. So how I have my folder set up is I have everything in one directory, and the working file is one, presentation, and then assets, and assets being any images. And I like to use fairly generic names like profile or image one. That way, if at any point I just want to update stuff, you don't all you'll have to do is rename it to and rename that guy, and then it'll ask you to update, and you'll say yes, and then hey, it'll update everything. So if you have like 50 images, you can basically have them all generic names and have them automatically update. That makes it a lot faster than having to drag it in. Half the time you still have to drag it in just because clipping masks don't always crop to something that looks nice, but makes it go a little faster at least. Yeah, so quick tips that are really helpful for Illustrator. Command or Control D, that is the most helpful thing since, yeah, it's fantastic. So if you hold Alt and Alt Shift and drag out, it'll create a duplicate, and then Command or Control D, that duplicates the last action that you did. So if you want to have a bunch of buttons evenly spaced out, this becomes particularly helpful with forms. So you have a form that you want created, and then duplicate that out a few times, and now you have an evenly spaced form that you can just go in and change this to whatever you want there. So yeah, Command D, that's very helpful there. Cut and paste. Cut and paste is actually what makes Illustrator fantastic for a consistent artboard and when giving a presentation. So if you have like one object that you want to be in the exact same location, you can select well, lock that layer real quick, but select these guys and I can copy and then paste. But where it becomes very helpful is when things are sandwiched between one another. So let's say we have these two objects where one's directly in front of the other, and I want this guy to go in between the two. So I can cut this guy out and Command F, paste in front, and Command B, paste in back. So Command B, and now it's sandwiched between the two. So going between the layers, you can just select your key object and then paste in front or back according to how you want that to actually work. So that's comes in very handy between artboards. And the one thing you'll have to know is, like, if you have one artboard selected and then select an object and copy it, it's referencing off of the artboard that you selected. So I'm going to paste in front, and that actually worked that time, so surprising. Anyway, sometimes it'll basically jump over to another artboard section, which isn't necessarily what you want, so you just have to double check and make sure. You can sometimes see a little bit once it turns a little more black around the border, then you know that artboard is the one that's selected. Yeah, so cut and paste, that's very helpful. Align, so let's say you have an object and you want everything to align to this object here. So what you can do is select everything, and as long as it is aligned to selection, you can click once on the object you want it to align to, and then pick your appropriate alignment, and it'll align to that key object. So again, if you select everything that you want here, and then just click once again, it'll select that key object. So that is handy when having a lot of things that get misaligned. Let's see. Yeah, covered between artboards. Yeah, I guess the last thing is you have iterations and variations of your different concepts that you want to get across. So you can, what we found is that generally giving PDFs to the clients, if they opened it up, it didn't always display 100%, and they'd be like, "Hey, this doesn't look anything like I think it should," and it's like, well, quit zooming in to 66%, and you should be okay. But trying to explain that isn't always the easiest thing to do. So what we resorted to is just export everything as a PNG, and most previewers will open it up at 100%